Nitishas and welcome to the section of Grade 9 CBSE Chemistry class. Today we are looking at the chapter number 2, Nature of Matter. This is our second chapter in the chemistry text, chapter number 2, Nature of Matter. And we already discussed the first chapter, Matter in Our Surroundings. In that chapter, we discussed what matter is and the properties of matter, properties of particles of matter, etc. in the first chapter. And as a continuation of the first chapter, the remaining portions are in the second chapter, which is called Nature of Matter. Here in this chapter, we are discussing about pure substances, then elements, then mixtures, colloids, suspensions, and concentration of a solution, saturated, unsaturated, and supersaturated solution. These are the all topics we are covering in this chapter. Now, in the first chapter, we discussed that matter is made up of large number of tiny particles, which may vary in size, shape, and in character. These tiny particles are called atoms, and these tiny particles are indivisible again. In the same way, we discussed the properties of particles of matter. That means they are continuously in motion, they are small particles, they can move in all possible directions with all possible velocities. That are all properties of particles of matter, the particles which are small in size. Now, matter can be broadly classified as pure substances or mixtures. Matter can be broadly classified as pure substances or mixtures. The two terms, pure substances and mixtures. I think you may heard about these terms, pure substances and mixtures. Pure substances may either contain constituent particles of only one kind or of different kind. That means pure substances may either contain constituent particles. That means some particle constitute together to form pure substances. And what's the peculiarity of that particles? It may be only of one kind or of different kinds. It can be only of one kind or of different kind. That means same kind of particles can togetherly called or togetherly constitute pure substance, or of different kinds of particles can also be togetherly called as a pure substance. A pure substance has a fixed composition. That's very important. A pure substance has a fixed composition. Its composition is uniform. Its composition is fixed throughout. That's one of the main peculiarity or main importance of a pure substance. From the introduction, it is clear that matter can be broadly classified into this pure substance and mixtures. So, we have to differentiate between this pure substance and mixtures. In pure substance, going to pure substance, how this pure substance is formed? This pure substance can be formed from particles of same kind, particles of only one kind or of different kinds. How these particles join together to form pure substance? For that, we must know a term called element. What do you mean by the term element? An element is simply a basic form of matter which cannot be broken down into simpler substances by any physical or chemical means. That is, element is simply a basic form of matter. For a matter, we already know that large number of tiny particles constitute matter, and that tiny particles are known as atoms. Clear? Like the similar way, the element is a basic form of matter. For a matter, an element is a basic form. The importance of this element is that it cannot be broken down into simpler substances. This element cannot be broken into simpler substances. It cannot be broken again by any physical or chemical means. By using any physical or chemical means, any physical means or any other chemical methods, we cannot divide or we cannot break this element into simpler forms. That means the element is again indivisible. It cannot be broken into simpler small forms. Clear? Elements can be classified as metals, non-metals, and metalloids. The terms are familiar to you: metals, non-metals, and metalloids. What are called metals? You know that you already aware of the periodic table which is given in your textbook. When going through your textbook chemistry chapters, you saw a table showing elements, and that table is known as periodic table. In periodic table, the whole elements are classified into three categories, that is metals, non-metals, and metalloids. In one side of the periodic table, the elements are metals, and in the opposite side, other side, the elements are non-metals. In between these metals and non-metals, there is a classification called metalloids. Then what is the difference between these metals,